Megyn Kelly prides herself on her the number of viewers who tune into her shows, the number of listeners, and that really is the only thing she can be proud of. We've talked about Megyn Kelly on this channel a lot, and I've made some mistakes. I'm gonna do something that Megyn, I know you're watching. You should try it sometime. I'm gonna take something back from what I said a couple of weeks ago when James and I last did a show about Megyn Kelly, and I said she used to be one of the best journalists in America, and I was taken in, and now I realize she is absolutely not that. She's perhaps the best um, person you can buy if you want a paid for spokesperson for whatever your views are, because she does sound like she's somewhat serious, although she's sounding even less and less like that today. We have a lot to say about Megyn Kelly. We're going to go longer than usual with this episode. Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm Razi Ginsburg, joined by James Valiant. James, you have followed the career of Megyn Kelly. You've seen her on Fox, you've seen her on NBC, you've seen her on her own platform now. Give us your general overview of that career before we go and see some of what she's said throughout her career.
She defines herself as center right, a moderate, meaning nothing. She is wishy-washy and she flip-flops, and that is a tremendous fact about her that cannot be denied. She'll take a middle of the road position, which as objectivists we know is always the worst position you can possibly take on something without the kind of moral clarity. And now I would contrast her work with Fox. Obviously, she was a commentator. She did straight news. She did their New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's, everyone. She did their New Year's Eve special once, but she was one of the victims of the Roger Ailes sexual harassment business that Fox went through. And so she left Fox News, went to NBC, the heart of darkness for conservatives, and found a nice, happy home there. The reason why she could coexist, be a voice at Fox and a voice at NBC, sort of puts the finger on exactly this wishy-washy, moderate nature to her, and flip-floppy nature to her. In the 2016 presidential debate, she asked the
Wait,
really
wait. No spoilers. Some of our viewers weren't even born yet. No, I'm kidding.
oh
But we might not remember it, and we will watch
9 years
that.
ago.
We'll watch that, and we'll compare it to something she said. I think it was yesterday. But even before that, you mentioned her time at NBC. This was after her time at Fox. It's not an easy transition to go from a right-wing, news outlet to a left-wing news outlet. But you would think, Fox has token Democrats, left-wing channels have token Republicans.
Yeah.
There's a way to kind of stick to your principles if you have them, but if you don't, it's in some ways much easier, although life is probably not.
Well, that's what makes her going off and being independent and doing her own thing. She does have millions of subscribers and she does have millions more viewers. I mean, my God, is she successful on the internet? Millions and millions of people watch her. But let me suggest that this is where you can really judge her, is when she's off on her own and she has no editorial supervision. Let me put it that way. And free from any editorial supervision, whether from right-wing media or left-wing media, we really get a glimpse, I think, into who she is now that she's out on her own. Let me put it that way.
So before we get a glimpse into who she is now, I want to thank Jonathan for the super chat. Jonathan says, Happy New Year, all. Happy New Year to you, Jonathan, and to
Happy New
everybody else
Year.
watching.
Great commentary this morning on Fox Business, by the way, Jonathan.
We don't have Fox Business here, but we can call and demand it. Is that still a thing? I don't know. Anyways, you see, I am showing my
That was
age here.
Cavuto's line as long as he was there.
Yeah.
Alas, he's no longer with Fox. Speaking
Speaking
of
of
Fox personalities.
somebody who actually was a great journalist, Neil
Yes,
Cavuto, and I don't know what he's doing
yes.
now, but if he's still out there, I assume he's still a great journalist. Somebody who isn't, back to her. Here's Megyn Kelly when she was on NBC and needed to be, let's say, not right wing.
Well, the people with me on stage right now are all transgender kids who want others to know it is possible to transition socially with love and support and acceptance within a family and a community. Please welcome 16-year-old Nicole.
Okay, we don't
12-year-old
need to
Daniel.
see this. The intro, I think, said everything. This is an issue. If you have any principles, you are either, you could have the wrong principles and be all in for this, or you are principled on, some level on the side of reality, or even not, even for other reasons. The trans issue is not one where you transition easily on, from pro to against, and that's really despicable, by the way, what she's doing there.
Right. I mean, I have a nuanced position. I have sympathy for people who suffer from the psychological condition. But I think one should keep one's hands off kids, for example, who aren't fully developed. And my position has been very clear. There are two biological sexes in reality. And then there are people with psychological problems, but that doesn't affect the reality that they have a psychological condition for which we should be compassionate. Now, this whole social trans thing is a separate thing, but having a principled position does not preclude having a nuanced position at all. But here she's not being nuanced at all. As I say, here she's at NBC and she's got the left-wing editorial supervision there, and this is what she'll say. Now, hold your breath, folks. It's not going to remain the same.
Yeah, and so now let's go to something that was in recent days, her talking about Trump in the context of the Epstein files, his own history with women. Let's hear what she had to say about that.
I don't give a shit about Trump getting handsy with somebody 20 years ago.
Okay,
I want
all right.
someone who will.
That's good enough. Daniel, can we also play now the clip of her and Trump in the first Republican primary debate of the 2016 election cycle?
You called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account.
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't. Your Twitter account.
Thank you.
For the record, it was well beyond Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
Your Twitter account has several disparaging comments about women's looks. You once told a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice it would be a pretty picture to see her on her knees. Does that sound to you like the temperament of a man we should elect as president? And how will you answer the charge from Hillary Clinton, who is likely to be the Democratic nominee, that you are part of the war on women?
All right.
I think the big problem.
So, yeah, we don't need his answer, but yeah, she was very, very upset and, looked like a serious journalist there. It's not easy, on the Fox News debate stage with an audience that was clearly liked Trump, to challenge him on something. She challenged him on statements. She's gone quite a long way in a decade from, you've been mean to women, therefore you shouldn't be president, to I don't give a shit if he's been handsy, and yeah.
It's crazy. Trump did say horrific things about women. He's done. I mean, he cheated on his wife with a porn star. I mean, but the things he said are really disturbing. The where he grabs women, etc. I won't repeat the exact language. As a man, I find it perfectly disgusting. Now, is it true that there are more important issues? If someone was going to save me from a president was going to save us from nuclear war, or really return us to individual rights and capitalism, I might think, okay, my hierarchy of values, being a personally cruddy person, and that needs to be acknowledged, though. Even if I was to do this, I would say the guy's a dirtbag in terms of his attitudes. But this is completely inexcusable, because now she doesn't care at all. She went from you're disqualified in effect because of way you talk about women, to I don't give it's not even on my radar screen of values. Now, if you come out again, it's not. It's having an integrated, consistent position. That's all I'm asking you for, Miss Kelly, is an integrated position, some kind of consistency here. You don't go from this disqualifies you to I don't give a crap. On the other hand, okay, that it's just not it's a contradiction. It violates the basic Aristotelian law of logic, the law of non-contradiction. That's what I mean. She flip-flops. She's an opportunist. When someone says a moderate, then center right, something like that, that is the hallmark, the insignia of someone whose opinions are up for sale or can change depending on circumstances. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Thank you, Gail, for the super chat. Gail says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Okay.
Happiest ever, Gail.
Megyn Kelly might be at her most successful now. I mean, now she is, she has her own thing, which means she can really be herself more so, unless, maybe whoever's funding it wants her to be something else. We don't know that. And by the way, I don't like that accusation, even when it's true. Tucker Carlson is very likely funded by Qatar, but that is not a reason to say, oh, the problem is the funding. The problem is Tucker Carlson agreeing to get funded by Qatar.
Right.
And by the way, a lot of the complaints these people have, we're going to watch some of Megyn on Turning Point at her the Turning Point conference a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say there. But if you see her at Turning Point, you see really how important it is for her to win a popularity contest. In essence, both in how she responds to Ben Shapiro, by the way, and in how she talks about herself. And you see this on her Twitter. So the way she is being herself, if this is the real Megyn Kelly, I don't know, the previous highest bidder mouthpiece version seems better.
At least if she's paid by Fox or NBC, you can tell the direction she's going to lean in. No, let me put it this way. I think that she's sincere about her Catholicism. I think she's very much mistaken. I mean, she's totally wrong about American history. She's a standard Christian conservative in that way. But, she steps away from that when convenient. Even that she's happy to step away from when it's convenient. So she's really hard to measure and to gauge. But as I say, I think now that she's out on her own, you get a better idea. In fact, the way she is overtly defending Tucker and Candace tells you more about her than anything she's done in the last 15 years.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. Moody says, hope you're watching the Iran news. Yes, we will talk about it on the reality show following the Daily Objective. Let's go to some of what Megyn said on stage. And of course, much of what she said on stage was in response to what Ben Shapiro said on stage at America Fest, the conference by Turning Point USA. Let's watch the first clip.
Well, I found it kind of funny that Ben thinks he has the power to decide who gets excommunicated from the conservative movement, which shows a willful blindness about his position in it. It reminded me a little of when the girl who was the head of our middle school chorus told me she was going to take all my friends away from me. Chorus? A head cheerleader, maybe, but like.
All right, let's pause there. When I see people on Twitter, Ben Shapiro was making arguments, was explaining why certain people are wrong and encouraging the audience to judge them according to what they have chosen to do. Megyn Kelly is talking about how popular and how cool she is, and why are only the cool kids can tell her who to hang out with. I mean, this is a grown ass woman, like in her 50s, I think, right?
Yeah.
How do you make such an argument?
Responsible.
And I just have to say, some of the people in the audience, Turning Point is way off in terms of my views, but some of the people in the audience are young people, who presumably are somewhat intellectually curious, still trying to figure the world out. And is this a role model? Is this how a role model for a movement that wants to have some sort of intellectual aspect to it, hopefully, is that a role model?
Yeah, boy, what a pathetic answer. What an absolutely pathetic answer. As you point out, Ben Shapiro made points. Rather than address those points, she's saying, oh, well, you can't determine. The implication is that any judgment but from him is, well, y'all can't have friends. You all got to excommunicate him. He never said any such thing. What he said was, this is right and this is wrong. And rather than address what this is right and this is wrong is, she said, he's trying to command who we excommunicate, command who. But look, you have judgment. If you don't dissociate from evil ideas, bad ideas, ideas you disagree with, then what you're saying is, I agree with that to the extent that they're part of a valid part of the discussion. So I could turn to her comment right back on her. So you think Tucker is the leader? Tucker, or are you the person who determines who a real conservative is? Or do you accept everyone? Or is everyone in? Well, she's now, by excommunicating Ben Shapiro, she's doing exactly what she said. Wow. There's no logic here at all. Does she claim that she can excommunicate Ben Shapiro? Because that's what it sounds like, because that's all that's really she's focused on, is who can excommunicate whom. Well, look, if you have any judgment, you will dissociate from people with wrong, bad, evil ideas. Ben Shapiro was focused on the ideas. She was focused on the popularity contest, as you point out. It's absolutely vile and disgusting. That is a second-handed, Ayn Rand's term for such people is a second-hander. She is a second-hander of the mind, okay? It's who her friends are that determines, well, I'm not going to dissociate with this person because they're my friend. Whatever crap might come out of their mouth, like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owen.
Yeah. Yeah, and we heard, by the way, what crap came out of Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens' mouths in response to Ben Shapiro. Candace said, remember, the Jews are the ones who enslaved black people. That was her response to Ben Shapiro. Tucker said...
That is who you dissociate from, Miss Kelly. When someone says something that is factually bizarre, I mean, it's not even on the radar screen of historical truth. It is such vile anti-Semitic falsehoods and wacky conspiracy theories, when they reject reason and science as such altogether, when they're embracing Islam, in effect, sanctioning the Islamists out there in the worldwide. Megyn Kelly, that's when you say, I don't know what y'all are going to do. I'm dissociating from you. You're not my friend anymore because you're a nut espousing evil ideas. If you don't draw the line there, Miss Kelly, where the hell do you draw the line?
Yeah, and Tucker's response included, why are people being Islamophobic? And if my brother went on a drug-fueled murder spree, I wouldn't denounce him because he's my brother, which tells you everything you need to know about Tucker's values, which is,
if you are the kind of person who would do that, you have no moral compass whatever. His religion and their religion generally shows you just how mawkish and evil their ideas really are. They wouldn't turn in their brother if he was a serial killer. Okay, if my brother was a murderer, the best thing I could do for everyone involved would be to turn him in like that, and I would. And I'd have nothing more to do with him, Tucker. Maybe because I don't have a religious view of morality like you do. But you've betrayed everything about your religious view of morality in one sense, right? What do your ideas mean to you? Nothing. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder, however you want to translate it. Your religious ideal is worthless in the real world. I would protect my murderer brother. Now, Miss Kelly, if you cannot see the true despicable evil of that, again, where do you draw the line, Miss Kelly?
By the way, James, I love it when you get worked up, especially when it's absolutely necessary. But also, last time we talked about Megyn Kelly, you were out of commission for 2 weeks, so maybe the next clip should be something from South Park. But before we do that, something that we're not going to watch, but later on in that conversation she had on stage at the Turning Point conference, she was talking about Candace and kind of in her general defense of Candace, she said, I've gotten to know her in the past few months, which I didn't really see many people pick up on that. But to me, it's like, you've gotten to know her in the last few months. So you've gotten to know her after I'm not a flat earther, I'm not a round earther, I have left the cult of science. After Brigitte Macron has a penis. After the incredible anti-Semitism that gets worse and worse. After, having the resurfacing the USS Liberty conspiracy, and basically every anti-Semitic conspiracy under the sun. This is when you get to know Candace. This is when you start thinking this is a person who's worthy not just of my company but of my public defense. And
Right.
again, Megyn tells us who she is, even in those kind of things that might be ignored because it's a part of a greater uh, crappy statement that she's making.
Yeah, boy, did you make a really good point there, Rosie. She didn't have to say anything. She went to their defense. You are defending this as a valid, rational, moral opinion. That's what you're saying, Miss Kelly, when you defend them and say, I won't criticize them because that would amount to excommunication. What you're saying, I'm making friends with them. They're my friends. How could you do that? No one's going to tell me who my friends are. Okay, then I will judge you based upon your friends because you went out of your way to publicly defend them and say, I won't unfriend them or criticize them for having those insane positions. You are just as evil and wacko. I'm putting you in the same bucket, Miss Kelly. Now that you're liberated from editorial control from one of the major media companies in America, you're now free to spout your defense of true evil. Now, if I were to say to Miss Kelly the same thing that Candace says about Jews, and if you look, you study the Talmud, it's filled with all kinds of horrific things, therefore you're evil. If I were to say to her, Miss Kelly, your Catholicism is truly evil. Your Catholicism is anti-American, deeply anti-American. The Catholic Church opposed the American Revolution, and you think Catholic Christianity is the only fundamental basis of America. If I said that, you would be angry at me, okay? Megyn Kelly, you have done the exact same thing with Jewish people by defending Candace Owen and her vicious anti-Semitism.
Yeah. We talked, I think, in the last time we talked about her, we talked about her tweet about Josh Hammer and saying in that tweet, while she's going after him, she says, I promoted Josh Hammer's very crappy podcast multiple times, which again is Megyn Kelly telling us who she is. You think a podcast is really crappy, you're promoting it to your audience. You're telling the people who trust you because they come to you for news, commentary, whatever it is, and they think you're worthy of listening to. You're telling them to go listen to a podcast that's really crappy. And again, this is Megyn Kelly telling us. I don't know in which context you promoted it. I don't know if it was like, paid advertising, if they were friends. And as we know, Megyn Kelly cares about who her friends are in the context of her commentary and activism more than she cares about the truth. But that really was another one of those statements where she keeps telling us these things, but again, we see people I see people on Twitter all the time saying to the Ben Shapiro's of the world, "Oh, look, you got ratioed. Somebody gave more. Somebody got more likes than you." And of course, we know many of those likes are bots. But even if they weren't, it's that is not truth is not determined by vote or likes, and so many of these people seem to claim that it is.
Yeah, and when you're going for that, when you're going for viewers, you have completely compromised any respect for the truth. Reality is reality. It does, we don't create it by our consciousness. We don't create it even by our collective consciousness. Just because a million Frenchmen or a billion Chinese people believe something does not make it true, or even give it any preliminary nudge in its direction. No. But see, when you start chasing views, then of course you've sold out. You become an opinion whore, and you've sold out the truth as such, your respect for the truth as such. And so when you talk about a journalist of integrity, that's precisely what she is not.
Thank you, Roland, for the super chat. Roland says, a happy 2026 to all my objectivist friends. Happy New Year to you as well. And Roland is, an hour ahead of me, 9 hours ahead of James. So once 2026 hits, let us know if we should join you there. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Thank you, Jeff, for the very generous super chat. Jeff says, Happy New Year to ARCUK. Happy New Year to you as
Happy New Year.
well. And thank you, Sid, for the super chat. Sid says, Megyn was a babyface at NBC. She got screwed over by NBC due to the whole Claus nonsense. She slowly became a heel since then. If you speak wrestling lingo, as far as I'm concerned, you won the best comment of the night. Uh, okay, there's more to the clip that we saw, and we might go back to it if we have time, but I want to go to the next part where she talks, if you talk about who's a good journalist and who's a bad journalist, Barry Weiss is probably at the very top of the list of good journalists, and therefore it's no surprise that Megyn Kelly goes after her. Let's listen.
There was also some response where it seemed like that call was being co-signed by the new head of CBS News, Barry Weiss, and I wanted to know if you wanted to respond to that as well.
So it's a similar situation with Barry. None of this is about them calling me out for anything I've said or haven't said, or it's certainly not about ARCUK, as Ben tried to make it sound last night. It's about Israel. Those two are very ardent Israel activists, which is fine, but they don't get to dictate how the rest of us feel about Israel or what we do with respect to our friends and our friends' opinions on Israel. And I'll tell you, Barry Weiss wants to couch herself as Erica's protector, Erica's defender. She's retweeting the Ben speech, saying anybody who doesn't call out conspiracy theorists is a coward. ARCUK barely knows Barry Weiss. Barry doesn't know anything about Erica. Barry Weiss has never been to a Turning Point event. Do you guys remember her here? Standing up for what we believe in when Charlie was alive? I don't remember her standing up for our principles. I don't remember her defending Charlie.
Let's pause here. It's like Megyn Kelly doesn't even just no longer pretend to be a serious journalist. She doesn't understand what being a journalist is. You have to be speaking at a Turning Point event and showing that you share the values of that movement in order to interview ARCUK. This is really, again, it's Megyn Kelly showing us who she is. And by the way, use your delusion here in the chat. Made the point that I was going to make. You can see how much of a serious and important journalist Barry Weiss is, from obviously first and foremost from her journalism, but also from the fact that she gets attacked by tribalists of the left because she left the New York Times and all that, and she, challenged the way they were doing things, and tribalists of the right for not being a tribalist of the right. This was what the attack was. You're not part of the tribe, so how dare you even speak up on this?
Well, exactly. It's a question of who your friends are. Truth is determined socially for Megyn Kelly. If you weren't my friend already, I will dismiss your opinion. But how dare you dismiss anyone else's opinion? Because now you're telling me who my friends are. What? That is not how you approach things. You approach things by a reality-focused orientation. You focus on the facts. Barry Weiss, moving over to CBS News, has obviously shown that she's a professional journalist. In fact, she's warms my heart in the sense that there is someone out there who seems like a professional journalist in America today, because those are growing few and far between. But Megyn Kelly, you have rejected objectivity as such in favor of what we would call social metaphysics, the crowd. She is an opinion whore. And what matters to her is who your friends are, and how dare you criticize one of my friends, and you weren't there, as you say, part of my tribe, therefore I can dismiss your opinion because you're not part of the tribe and didn't defend us before. Rather than focusing on the facts, focusing on reality, she's focused on her friends and her friends' feelings and who's popular at what event, and that has nothing to do with the truth. It is absolutely valueless. What came out of her mouth in the last two clips we have here was nothing but spewed garbage, okay? I don't care who your friends are, Megyn Kelly. I don't care that you're a loyal, devoted friend to them. I don't. I care about the truth. And as a journalist, that's all I care about coming out of your mouth. Coming out of your mouth, the truth. Not a question of, well, this is my friend and I'm never going to criticize them. You've just told me you're a whore. You've just told me that your opinion is up for, a popularity contest. You go into a party. Are you welcome there? Is this my friend? That's what matters to you more than the truth, obviously. If you can utter defense of Candace Owen, yeah, I don't belong to the cult of science, all these vicious, evil, anti-Semitic things that she says. Tucker Carlson going over, yeah, he may be on Qatar's payroll. It doesn't matter. He put himself on Qatar's payroll. They're taking the side of Islamists because, of course, of their own tribalist view of what an American is. Their own tribalist view of what an American. So, as far as I'm concerned, she's joined the Tucker Candace crowd of anti-American. Don't understand the first thing about what America is. If that's what American conservatism is, there's nothing left of what Americanism. It's gone.
Yeah. In a sense, I really think she is worse than them in one sense, which is she does still, I think she's hopefully losing this, but she has some sort of legitimacy from her past work in serious news organizations, and it was more serious work than others. Like Tucker was in serious news organizations, but he was there in a bow tie and like a, to use wrestling lingo, like promo offs with a
Well, when he was at Fox, he
Democrat,
was
and then
already
he has
talking
his
about.
ridiculous show on Fox. So he was, he was always kind of a clown of sorts.
A clown. A clown. When he was still on Fox, he was talking about UFOs and stuff. Now they're demonic spiritual forces. Now that his tongue has been liberated from any editorial supervision, he can say, "I've been attacked by demons." The demonic event that's happening with these UFOs. Literally, I'm not making this up.
Yeah,
And
but she was never a clown. That's the thing. Or at least we didn't notice. So
didn't notice.
she brings this legitimacy to the people who are, full on anti-Israel, in some cases, full on anti-Semitic, who bring on actual Nazis to their shows, and she defends them on that point. So yeah, that's where I think she's worse. Let's hear a bit more of what she said about Bari Weiss. Daniel?
Sorry. This one, right? Better Vice.
The one we had already started and paused.
Yeah.
And do you guys remember her here? Standing up for what we believe in when Charlie was alive? I don't remember her standing up for our principles. I don't remember her defending Charlie the many times he was called a racist or an anti-Semite. I really don't remember that at all. What I do remember is she had Erica Kirk come on one town hall in which Bari Weiss tried to play both super important VIP executive and super fabulous star anchor at her new network CBS. Pro tip, Bari, that's no way to win friends at your new organization, to try to steal all the hosting abilities of the on-air talent.
All right,
so good luck with that.
Pause there. Steal the win friend. What again? Bari Weiss went to CBS because she started her own news organization, which became essentially, I think, the best one out there, and was offered. And as some people see good work and want to reward it and want to see more of it, and that's why CBS brought her on. She's not there, hopefully, to win friends. She's not Megyn Kelly. She's not in a popularity contest.
The truth matters more to her. That's what defines an objective journalist. You prioritize the truth, verifiable truth. That's your job as a journalist, okay, Miss Kelly? No, it's outrageous. And the way she's treating on-air talent. I mean, I have nothing but praise for Miss Weiss when it comes to the way she's treating the CBS on-air talent. And think of it. Think of how sensitive, how touchy she is when it comes to on-air talent. You could really get the psychology of Megyn Kelly from that little bit right there. So it's the way you treat me and the way you criticize me for my friends. And no, I won't denounce my friends, no matter how absurd the BS that comes out of their mouth. No, that is the opposite of objectivity. This is the opposite of moral journalism, ethical journalism.
Yeah, and by the way, Bari Weiss on the Free Press was interviewing people, and when she's brought on in CBS, presumably they understood this would be part of what she does. But yeah, Barry Weiss wasn't winning friends from day one because she
Right.
wanted, the first thing she did was ask people, can you tell me what you do, throughout the day? And the union of whatever did what unions do and said, don't answer it. Don't answer the question. Why? Because some of them are probably not doing anything that's worth any of the money they're getting paid, and some are probably doing more damage than good. And again, the reason she is brought on as opposed to anybody else is because they want the type of journalism that is completely gone from mainstream media, and the only place where you could find it was on the free press. So, yeah,
Thank goodness that Barry Weiss is now working at CBS. I mean, my God. And thank goodness Megyn Kelly is no longer working for a major news operation. On the other hand, as we started out with, she gets millions and millions and millions of views. She's got millions of subscribers. She's got a huge audience, even for the television world. She has a huge audience on the internet compared to American television. That's impressive stuff. But if you're going to sell your soul to get those numbers, Megyn Kelly, you're not a journalist.
yeah. I'm afraid this isn't the last time we're going to talk about Megyn Kelly. I'm pretty sure it's not. Her friend Tucker, by the way, may be funded by Qatar, but I'm sure he is devastated and terrified looking at what's going on in Iran right now. Because yeah, he did interview the president of Iran as well, right? He interviewed,
Yeah, yeah.
not in
He'll
the
give a
aggressive
mean,
way.
vicious interview to Ted Cruz, but
Yeah,
then a softball interview to the worst anti-Semites, neo-Nazis in the world. That's the way Tucker works. That's the way Megyn Kelly's friends that she's
yeah.
unwilling to criticize work. Okay, but let us hope, my God, that this is the end of the evil Iranian regime, the most savage regime on this planet.
Yeah, and we will be hoping that and talking about that on today's episode of the reality show, which is starting a bit late, as we said. Somebody asks, I'll take this question. Razi, how do you think these people can be reined in? Well, they're not going to be reined in. They're in, the marketplace of ideas, and in the marketplace, period. You put stuff out there, and then people choose what they value. I would love to see this channel get the kind of numbers that Megyn Kelly does. It's not going to happen anytime soon because she is very much within a niche within the Overton window, and that's what's terrifying. We are way outside that window. So the way we try to rein them in, so to speak, although I wouldn't put it that way, is to offer an alternative. And if you value this alternative, you can, first of all, like, comment, share, subscribe if you're not subscribed. But that way, more people, even if not Megyn Kelly numbers, more people will see and hear this content. And of course, if you are able to do so, consider becoming a member, and you get access to additional content and help us grow and fight the evil in the world, left, right, religious, of whatever religion, and yeah, that is what we are doing.
Censorship is never the answer. You cannot rein bad opinion in by force. What you do is you provided better opinion. And in the long run, if you have integrity, if you have respect for reality first, in the long run, you're going to look a whole lot better than this flip-floppy, wishy-washy, friends come first kind of quote journalist, Megyn Kelly. So yeah, we're doing the only thing you can do is criticize. Use your words, fought with words, never censorship.
And thank you, Skinny Money, for the super chat. Skinny Money says, first donation of 2026 since it's 2 a.m. here in Australia. Also, James Valiant fanboy reporting in. Thank you for that. Yeah, and you can also, maybe on the reality show, which follows in a minute, you can let us know how 2026 is, because some of us
How it
are
feels on the other side.
Yeah.
In many ways, I'm eager to get this year behind me. Let me put it that way.
Well, let's hope that next year we won't want to come back to this year. But, with things going the way they are in Iran, maybe the year will start off with very good news.
Something good.
Thank you, James. Happy New Year.
Happy New
Thanks
Year, my
everybody
brother.
for watching. And the reality show about Iran, what's going on there? Is it finally the end of that regime? That starts in a couple of minutes on this channel. We'll see you there.
Be safe.